हेलो एंड वेलकम एवरीवन, दिस इज प्रोफेसर सिद्धार्थ सुराना। आई होप यू गाइस आर डूइंग गुड और मैं तो हमेशा मस्त ही रहता हूं। वेलकम टू एपिसोड नंबर 7 ऑफ रिवीजन कम अमेंडमेंट्स फॉर May 23 and November 23 exams in direct tax for CA final and for the common topics also for CA intermediate. In every video's description I have mentioned that common part. In fact, today's lecture we have quite a few chapters where the common part between final and inter will be there. We are now going to start again one of the biggest chapter. It was not very big until a few years ago, but of late last 3-4 years, if you observe from 2018-19 onwards, basically aunty ka era, so 194 somewhere around L, I or L it used to get over. Before L aunty introduced K, and after L M N O P Q R S till S. She has been continuously, I think she is going to take this right up to Z, plus in TCS also she has brought amendments. All in all, it has become a very big chapter. Equalization levy also was introduced by her, and accordingly this becomes a very big chapter, almost equal to assessment procedure. But in assessment procedure, in revision lecture we took more time because we had to do that amendment wala part of faceless from our full course ka lecture. However, here we will not take that much time because everything we will be doing from the PDF, only from the basic. Whenever a payer makes a payment to any payee, example 1 lakh, then that's income of the payee, and then on that income the payee has to pay tax, and this payer is the source of income. Like employer is source for employee, or client is source for CA, and for this person it is an expense. So this source will have to deduct some tax, therefore we call it tax deducted at source, and in the hands of the payee release only the net amount. From the gross amount deduct the tax amount, and therefore release to the payee only the net amount. However, the income of the payee or the expense of the payer will remain the gross amount, that is rupees 1 lakh. It is like as good as we have paid full 1 lakh and 10,000 ka credit will be given to the payee in his assessment. So when Mr. Y will calculate his total income, he will offer 1 lakh, include 1 lakh in total income, and against his tax liability he will adjust 10,000 rupees, or simply put, you can say that Mr. X is paying 1 lakh to Mr. Y only, 90,000 in cash and 10,000 to the government on behalf of payee, so that payee can later take credit. This will help a matching of transactions between payer and payee, because in order to get this 10,000 back from the government in the form of credit, dekho, if there is liability, then we will reduce the liability by giving credit of 10,000, and if there is no liability, then this 10,000 will be refunded to Mr. Y. In other words, government will give Mr. Y this 10,000 back, but in order to get this 10,000 back, Mr. Y will have to first offer 1 lakh to tax. Only if he declares that income of 1 lakh, then and only then he is going to get that credit of rupees 10,000. That is why we have TDS. So all the duties, though it is income and tax of the payee, the duties like deduct, pay to the government, return filing, certificate, all duties are put on the payer. And if the payer fails to do, though it is income and tax of the payee, income kiska payee, tax kiska payee, but if the payer fails to do the duties, then he will have to face disallowance of expense in PGBP. We are aware this is revision lecture. Resident pay 30%, non-resident pay 100%. There will be interest for non-deduction, non-payment. Penalty 100% of the TDS or TCS amount. Penalty we have already revised. Very rare occasion, but there can be prosecution also. As a clarification, TDS is not a levy of tax. It is only a deduction. The tax rates that will be applicable are the ones that we have studied, whether introduction chapter, MAT chapter, partnership form chapter, old regime, new regime, tax special rate, normal rate. Tax calculation will be on those rates. It is only a deduction. If you have liability, then adjust this against your liability, and if you have no liability, you get it as credit. It is not a levy of tax. It is not an extra tax that we are levying. You are going to get credit. If there is TDS, you are going to get credit, and if TDS is not deducted, that does not mean that you don't have to pay tax. You will have to make direct payment. That means if X has deducted 10,000, then Y will get credit of 10,000. And if X has not deducted 10,000, he will face these consequences. But Y will have to still pay tax on 1 lakh. Means payer's failure to deduct TDS will not make or grant immunity to the payee from payment of taxes. He will have to make direct payment. However, if you are employee of startup which is covered under 80 IAC, who gets sweat equity shares, ESOP. So you have received ESOP, that is like a perquisite that you have received. Startups pay ESOP or startups give ESOP because they don't have cash. So this tax payment need not be made immediately. The same point is there in demand notice. AO will also not demand it immediately. Point is there in self-assessment tax. You don't have to pay it immediately. It is there here also. You have to pay it later. You have to pay it within 14 days from the earliest of 3 events. So what are the 3 events? 48 months from the end of the relevant assessment year, sale of the security or leaving the job. Out of these 3, whichever is earlier, uske 14 days ke andar you have to make this tax payment. If you are employee of startup, then on the sweat equity issued to you. As I said, this rule is also applicable for collection of self-assessment tax, sending demand notice, and for employer also if he is deducting TDS. Obviously, TDS will apply only if the income is taxable in India, because let me clear in one line, there will be no TDS on exempt income. Only if the income is taxable in India. Every section has the monetary limit. TDS will apply only if it is exceeded. For example, professional fees more than 30,000, then only there will be TDS. If it is less than 30,000, there will be no TDS. Does not mean it is exempt. 20,000 ka professional fees is also taxable. 1 rupee is also taxable. TDS will come only if it is more than 30,000. TDS is not a levy of tax. It is only a deduction of tax. Every section will give us the rate of TDS except salary, where it is full tax, and payment to non-resident full tax. Tadadang, tadadang, tax equal to TDS, TDS equal to tax. Will we also deduct surcharge and cess? Normally no, but in salary payment, because full tax, and non-resident payment because full tax, then we will have to take surcharge and cess also. All the duties are on the payer, but one duty we are giving to the payee. The payee has to furnish his PAN to the payer, so that when the payer is making the payment to the government, the payer can show who should get credit, and failure to give your PAN will result in TDS higher of the rate which is given in the section, or 20%, whichever is higher. Section rate or 20%, whichever is higher. If the payee fails to furnish PAN, then section rate or 20%, whichever is higher. Section rate or 20%, whichever is higher. However, with respect to the payment under 192A, that is withdrawal of RPF, it will not be 20, it will be MMR. With respect to 194O, that is e-commerce, and 194Q also, sale of goods, one of the rare sections where goods are covered. Majorly TDS ka chapter is about services, but goods are covered. In these cases, it is going to be 5%, not 20 but 5%. So section rate or 20, whichever is higher. Section rate or MMR, MMR is obviously going to be the highest. Section rate or 5%, whichever is higher. In this section, it is 0.1%. So we will take 5. In this section, it is 1%. So we will take 5%. And if you are making payment in a notified jurisdictional area, then it is going to be the rate given in the section, or 30% plus SC plus HEC, whichever is higher. Notified jurisdictional area as given in 94A transfer pricing ka chapter. Next, this was a consequence, means higher rate 20% for non-furnishing of PAN. Now our government also wants to target non-filers of ROI. If the payee has not furnished ROI, now here there is an amendment. Till last year the rule was, if you have not filed ROI for 2 years, then you will have higher TDS. 2 years ka return not filed, then higher TDS. And now the amendment is, if you have not filed the return of just the immediately preceding previous year, just the immediately preceding previous year, and us year ka 139 time limit has expired. This is important to understand. Now supposingly your exam ka previous year is 22-23. 22-23 mein when anybody is deducting TDS, so we can't check this year ka return because this is going on. Chalo, let's go to 21-22. A problem ye hai that 21-22 is over on 1st April. On 1st April, if you are making payment to anyone, your payee cannot be treated as non-filer for this year because iska due date is not yet over. Please understand. So when we are making any payment in 20-23, we are going to check 20-21. Because if you observe carefully, this is my exam year. Any payment made in this year, I have to check whether the payee has filed return or not filed return. I can't check for this year. I can't check for this year because iska to due date has not yet gone. So I will check this year, and now only 1 year. So last year tak kya tha? We had to check 2 years. If the payee has not filed return for 2 years, then he is a non-filer. But now it will not be 2 years. We will check only 1 year. But which year? For your exam in May 23, November 23, you will check 2021. फिर इस पे clarificatory circular was given by the CBDT. CBDT said that on 1st April of 22, we will release a list of non-filers for this year. 21-22 का non-filer list cannot be made on 1st April because उसका due dates are not yet over. Go check assessment procedure. Okay. तो इस year का non-filers का list will be released. Once you are not there in this list, we will not add any new. Listen to me carefully. नो न्यू नेम विल बी एडेड इन द नॉन फाइलर लिस्ट. मतलब ऐसा हो सकता है कि जुलाई, अक्टूबर, नवंबर हैज गॉन and you have not filed return of this year, but ये साल का you have filed, no, then your name will not be added, you are already removed. It is like college में attendance का blacklist was there, no. If your name is there in the first blacklist, then only you will be targeted for future semesters. If you are not there in the first list, you are gone. So no new name will be added. Plus you are a non-filer here, your name is there in the list. Now is it possible that you have filed an updated return of this year over here? Or it is also possible that this साल का तो you have not filed, but this साल का you have filed. So during the year we will keep on removing names if you become a filer. So at the beginning of the year there is going to be a list of non-filers. Whoever is removed is removed. And if your name is there, no new name will be added. But if your name is there and later you become filer because of any updated return or anything, or you file the return of 21-22, then we will remove your name during the middle of the year also. But the amendment that has taken place is that you will not check 2 years ka non-filer, you will check only 1 year ka, 1 year ka. And which 1 year ka? We can't check 21-22 because uska 139(1) is not expired. We will check 2021. Let me conclude simply. When you are checking non-filer for your attempt May 23, November 23, just check whether the assessee is the payee. Basically the payee is non-filer for 2021. If he is a non-filer for 2021, so what will happen? Second condition is that the aggregate TDS TCS obviously of that year, till last year they had written of both the years, but now it is aggregate TDS TCS of this year. Payee ka total TDS plus TCS of that year is 50,000 rupees or more. So simply put, what are the conditions for making the payee non-filer? देखो already यहाँ पे higher TDS का already one condition is there. If PAN is not furnished, then 20% or section rate whichever is higher. In 3 cases में it is a different rule, exceptions. Notified jurisdictional area में 30%. And if payee is non-filer, let's be clear, when will payee become non-filer? If he has not filed return for 1 year. Which year we will check? 2021, because uska 139(1) has expired. And that 2021 ka TDS plus TCS should be 50,000 or more. Then we will increase the TDS rate at double or 5%, whichever is higher. So if section ka rate is 1, we make it 2, 2 or 5, whichever is higher. If section ka rate is 2, then 4 or 5, whichever is higher, so 5. If section ka rate is 10, then we will make it 20. If section ka rate is 5, then we will make it 10. Double or 5, whichever is higher. Double or 5, whichever is higher. Double or 5, whichever is higher. So whenever payee does not furnish PAN, so 20 or section ka rate whichever is higher. Section rate or 20, whichever is higher. And whenever the payee is non-filer, when will he become non-filer? Not filed for 1 year, 2021, and uska TDS is 50,000 or more. Then it will become double or 5, whichever is higher. Lekin non-filer ka provisions are not applicable. Matlab 206 AB, this section is only not applicable for salary payment because already full tax is coming. यहाँ पे RPF में if you check, already it is MMR for non-furnishing of PAN. This is casual winnings and your winning from horse races. Already the section rate is 30. How can we make it now? Double. 194 LBC, 194 N, cash withdrawal from bank account. Already there is a non-filer provision within the section. Plus amendments. 194 IA, purchase of property में non-filer का provisions will not apply. 194 IB, rent payment more than 50,000 per month में we will not apply non-filer का provision. And 194 M, when you are making contractor payment or you are making professional fees more than 50 lakh but personal payment है, so you deduct in 194 M. Here if the payee is non-filer, तो non-filer का double TDS वाला we will not apply. Non-filer का rule is what? Double or 5, whichever is higher. Double or 5, whichever is higher. But for these sections we will not apply that non-filer का provision. And lastly, is it possible that payee has done double default? Not filed return also and not furnished PAN also. Non-furnishing of PAN or not filing of return. Then 206 AA will also apply. 206 AB will also apply. Obviously not for these sections. These are exceptions with 3 amendments are also there. But otherwise both will apply. So in दोनों में से whichever is higher. So 20 from here and double rate or 5% whichever is higher from here. Between these two, whichever is higher is going to become applicable. That's the joint study of non-filing of return and non-furnishing of PAN ka provision. TDS will come at the time of credit or payment whichever is earlier. Credit or payment whichever is earlier. But following cases it will be only at the time of payment. 9 cases were only at the time of payment. Salary ka TDS only at the time of payment. Winning from lottery and horse races, Bazigar, Bada Bazigar, only at the time of payment. Withdrawal from NSS only at the time of payment. Compulsory acquisition, capital gain is also taxable only at the time of payment. Payment by life insurance company only at the time of payment. Withdrawal from RPF only at the time of payment. Cash withdrawals from bank account, obviously only when you withdraw TDS will get attracted, and interest on compensation and enhanced compensation, TDS in these 9 cases will come only at the time of payment. With respect to point 8 and point 9, just note the following couple of things. Point 8 mein you are withdrawing cash from your own bank account. In the entire chapter, this is that only payment where the receipt is not your income. Dekho, here we were paying, in the initial example we were giving 1 lakh rupees, so this 1 lakh was income of the payee, no? But this is cash withdrawal, so the amount is not income. The amount is not income. It is not included in the income because you are withdrawing from your own bank account. It is like a contra entry. And there is something special about point 9. Point 9 is on interest. 194A, FD interest will come here, RD interest, loan interest. They all come in whichever is earlier, Only one transaction, interest on compensation and enhanced compensation, will come at the time of payment. All other interest transactions will come at the time of whichever is earlier. Point 1 to 8, entire section falls in case of TDS on payment basis. For point 9, only one particular payment, interest on compensation. Is that understood, the peculiar point about point 9? And for the entire chapter, point 8 is the only case where TDS amount is not included in the taxable income, because cash withdrawal from your own bank account is not your taxable income. So these are 2 specific points about point 8 and point 9 respectively. TDS will come even for personal purposes except contractor and professional fees, 194C and J. But iske andar bhi we now know that if the payment is more than 50 lakh, so we will apply 194M. We all know this is a revision. Lecture equalization levy, which is not applicable for intermediate students but only applicable for final students. Under the Finance Act of 2016, equalization levy is not income tax, not levied under Income Tax Act. This is not income tax. This is a separate collection by the government, popularly known as Google tax. Whenever a non-resident who does not have PE in India, देखो non-resident having PE in India will pay on the principle of source, and resident will to always pay tax. But non-resident no PE, non-resident no PE. That means residence not applicable, source cannot be determined, but is providing online advertisement or digital space for online advertisement or any other notified service for more than rupees 1 lakh. This will become a specified service. So non-resident, no PE, providing specified service for more than rupees 1 lakh. To whom? To a resident or to a non-resident ka PE in India. Means to that PE in India, you are providing the service to someone in India, online service to someone in India for the purpose of business. For the purpose of business. So observe the conditions. Non-resident, payer is the service provider is non-resident, no PE in India, specified service covers only online and digital space, more than rupees 1 lakh, to someone in India, resident or PE of non-resident, and for the purpose of business, then 6% all inclusive, no surcharge cess. Surcharge cess comes only on income tax. This is not income tax. This is equalization levy. And this is very, very important because you will see huge number of MCQs, questions, even in your elective paper. This is a very, very important concept. But Auntie introduced part 2 also in this. Equalization levy was till now being levied only on online advertisement and digital space for online advertisement. But now equalization levy shall be levied on all e-commerce transactions. So initial part is same, non-resident, no PE in India. Service provider or the goods seller remains same, non-resident, no PE. Who owns, operates or manages a digital or electronic platform, that is this non-resident is nothing but an e-commerce operator. Digital platform matlab a website or app, any portal, something as simple as Amazon having an app, or Netflix. What is this non-resident without PE doing in India? Selling goods, services or both. Selling goods, services or both of self or other person. Means you are selling your own goods or you are selling goods belonging to other person. You are only running a portal like an aggregator and your sales are 2 crore or more, something like Netflix. They will have 2 crore or more ka sales, no? And to whom are you? And these services, as a clarification, excluding whatever is already covered. So if advertisement services are covered here, they will not be covered here. But Netflix ka web series are not covered here. Amazon.com, non-resident, but they have PE in India, then they will be excluded obviously. Examples ke liye I am making you understand what is this. Non-resident, no PE in India, running a website or a app and selling goods or services of self or acting as an aggregator, but not covering goods services which are already covered in part 1. If it is 2 crore or more, part 1 mein it was greater than 1 lakh, part 2 mein it is 2 crore or more. To whom are we selling? To a resident or to a non-resident from IP address in India, means one non-resident in India is using internet connection of India and purchasing anything from the website of another non-resident, or non-resident with respect to sale of ads to customers who are accessing the ads, where the target customers are in India. If they are the receiver of goods or services, then we will apply part 2. Equalization levy will be applicable 2% all inclusive. So first part mein advertisement services mein it is 6% all inclusive, and other goods and services mein it is 2% all inclusive. No surcharge cess because this is not income tax. As a clarification, if there is any portal only for what? For accepting sale offer or placing or accepting purchase order, or only payment aggregators, all this will also be included. Anything which is covered in part 1 usko chhod ke all goods and services subject to these conditions. The service provider or goods seller should be non-resident, no PE in India, who is the owner of the website or the portal and selling own goods या other people का goods, and the buyer of goods or services should be any of these people. Second point that you need to know, एक तो 2% all inclusive. Second point that you need to know, if 6% or 2% is applicable, then obviously no income tax. Anyways, there will be no income tax. That is why we are applying equalization levy. If e-commerce is only a facilitator, no equalization levy. If you are selling goods or service of resident. If e-commerce operator is only a facilitator, then no equalization levy if you are selling goods or service of resident. Understand karo. As of now, if you are selling goods or service of other person, you are covered. But supposingly a resident has listed his goods or services on this portal. Supposingly some Bollywood ka producer has put his movie or web series on Netflix. तो उसके ऊपर there is not going to be any equalization levy. Okay, and royalty and FTS, if they are covered under DTAA, then equalization levy is not going to be attracted. So this is the concept of equalization levy. One by one, now we will go through the TDS ka section. Salary under section 192, whenever an employer pays any amount to his employee, then tax at applicable rate. So salary mein there is no TDS ka rate given. Full tax at applicable rate plus surcharge plus HEC is going to be applicable. No TDS if no tax is payable. Matlab if you are paying the employee less than 250, no TDS. If you are paying employee up to 5 lakh and he is taking the rebate wala part, then again there will be no TDS, because TDS will come only if there is tax. Obviously TDS can change every month, because if your salary structure changes, if your allowance perquisite change, yeah, your other heads of income change, full tax will cover other heads also. TDS will come actual only at the time of actual payment. This falls in the list of 9 exceptions. It has to be taken into account all exemption, rebate, all other heads of income, everything, because full tax covers tax on total income, not just your salary income. So because of this, it is the duty of the employee that if you work for more than one employer, then submit the details of your other income to your employer so that your employer can deduct your entire TDS. If the employee is furnishing details of losses, then for TDS purposes only house property loss will be taken. In your actual computation, you can take all the losses as per the set of chapter, but for TDS purpose, employer will take only house property loss. If boss is paying tax on your non-monetary perquisite, so boss is providing you perquisite and uska tax he is paying to the government. It's a direct tax, so he will not get deduction. But whatever tax you will pay less, because if portion of your tax liability is borne by your employer, so you have to pay that much less. So that will not be taxable for the employee. Whatever he is paying, you don't have to pay tax on that. Is that understood? And if the employer is startup, तो वो sweat equity का rule will be same as direct payment. 14 days from 48 months from end of the relevant assessment year or selling of securities or leaving the job, whichever is earlier, वहाँ से 14 days के अंदर employer will also deduct TDS, and if employer has not, तो direct payment also at that time. Next, RPF. RPF से withdrawal normally is exempt. If you have completed 5 years, it is exempt. But if you have done premature withdrawal from RPF, premature you withdrawn your money from RPF, so that is taxable. If you withdraw before 5 years, so it is taxable. If you withdraw after 5 years, so it is going to be exempt. If it is exempt, no TDS. Before 5 years, if you withdraw, so there will be TDS of 10% if the amount that you are withdrawing is 50,000 or more. Let's be clear, if the amount that you are withdrawing is 40,000, there may not be TDS, but it will be taxable income. This is only to decide, this threshold is only to decide yes TDS or no TDS. Exempt, तो अगर 5 years complete किया है, irrespective of amount, taxability and exemption depends on number of years you have invested the money in RPF. TDS will come on 50,000. That's one thing. Second, year equal to is covered. Most TDS sections, if it is equal to amount, there will be no TDS. But 3 sections में RPF का 50,000, 194 DAS, you are aware, life insurance के अंदर, and 194 IA, sale of property. In these three sections, equal to वाला amount is covered. Everywhere else it is greater than. This TDS will come only at the time of payment. If you don't furnish PAN, TDS comes at MMR, that we have already seen. TDS only if the withdrawal is taxable. Obviously, if you withdraw premature, it is taxable. 1 rupee also is taxable, but TDS if it is 50,000 or more. And when will it be exempt? If you complete 5 years, to exempt. So no TDS. If you leave your job and transfer balance from one employer to other employer and complete 5 years, to exempt. If employer ka business stops, to exempt. Or any reason by which you could not complete 5 years, to exempt. If you fall in any of the 4 cases, exempt to no TDS. If you don't fall in these 4 cases, to taxable. 1 rupee also taxable, 1 rupee also taxable, but TDS only if it is 50,000 or more. Next, interest on securities. You can read once if you want. Any person paying interest on securities, 10% payee has to be resident. Dekho, payee can be resident only if full tax is deducted. If full tax is not deducted, then payee has to be only resident. Such payments to non-resident will be covered under 195. So, no TDS if you are making payment on interest. Dekho, LIC and all these companies make investment in securities. That's their main source of income. Premium honestly is very less compared to the claims that they pay every year. So they receive investment income, but we will not deduct any TDS. Then on these bonds there will be no TDS. If the payer is a public company and interest is paid through allowable modes up to 2,500, there will be no TDS. No TDS on debenture interest if public company is paying to resident individual at HUF subject to certain conditions. In full course lecture also we don't do this section. I just tell students to read. Next, dividend income, section 194. Whenever a domestic company is making payment of dividend, then if you make payment to resident, then TDS at 10% is going to be deducted. No threshold is prescribed, so every rupee will attract TDS. Again, if you are making payment to insurance companies, then there will be no TDS. If you are making payment to notified person, no TDS. If SPV is paying to business trust, no TDS because it is exempt. SPV ka interest and rent is exempt. And if payee is resident individual, dividend up to 5,000 in a year other than cash. Payee resident individual, dividend up to 5,000 in a year. For example, MRF declared 3 rupees per share dividend. MRF ka share is almost 90,000 rupees. 3 rupees ka dividend. Supposingly person has 10 shares also, so 30 rupees ka dividend. So no TDS, but provided it is non-cash. Chalo, आजकल सब non-cash ही होता है. They do directly NEFT in your bank account या they add in your demat का balance and payee has to be a resident individual. So there will be no TDS. So small amounts के ऊपर there will be. वैसे there is no monetary threshold, but for resident individual up to 5,000 there will be no TDS. That's 194. 194 ACHIJ. Achij. Most important part of your syllabus. And here the payer ka definition is any person. Everyone has to deduct TDS, excluding individual HUF whose turnover in business was up to 1 crore or in profession was up to 50 lakh last year. Matlab, individual HUF will be covered here only if last year ka turnover in business exceeded 1 crore and profession exceeded 50 lakh. All persons other than individual HUF if turnover exceeded these thresholds for business and profession respectively. So if it is less than or equal to them, then individual HUF does not have to deduct TDS. Otherwise, everyone has to deduct TDS if they are making payment of more than 5,000. Interest other than securities, because securities ke already we have a section to any resident person. But if payer is bank, obviously we will have to increase the limit. If payer is bank and bank is paying to resident individual of 60 years or more, then the limit will be increased to 50,000 per branch per payee obviously. And if it is other than 60 years, other than senior citizen, then it will be 40,000. Matlab there are 3 monetary limits. Normally more than 5,000. Bank is paying to more than 40,000 and bank is paying to senior citizen to more than 50,000. Normally more than 5,000. Bank is paying to more than 40,000. Bank is paying to resident senior citizen to more than 50,000. So based on your age, your limit will be changing. TDS at 10% will be attracted. If you have payment as well as receipt of interest, then both have to deduct TDS. Though you may do your settlement on net amount, but TDS will be applicable on both. If the bank has adopted CBS, core banking solution, common accounting software, then we will take total of all branches. So if 3 branches are paying you interest of 30, then total ke upar we will apply the limit. However, if they have done macro monitoring, only internal calculation, not actually paid or credited, then there will be no TDS. Macro monitoring means no TDS, otherwise we will take total of all branches. Between firm and partner, there will be no TDS. Whenever a cooperative society is paying interest to a cooperative society or its members, so no TDS. Any cooperative society paying to another cooperative society or its own members, then no TDS. But if bank is paying, then there will be TDS. Cooperative bank can also be a cooperative society, so there will be TDS. Matlab a housing society paying to another housing society or its own members, there will be no TDS. But if bank is paying, then there will be TDS. But if bank is paying to society, there will be no TDS. Matlab cooperative bank to cooperative society, no TDS. But to its own members and outsiders, yes, TDS. And other societies, when they are paying interest, then outsiders ka yes TDS, own members ka and cooperative society ka no TDS. Or let me put it this way, if receiver of interest is cooperative society, then no one will deduct TDS, neither cooperative bank nor other societies. If receiver of interest is any outsider, then both will deduct TDS. And if receiver of interest is own member, then cooperative bank will deduct, but cooperative society will not deduct. However, for all the cases where you are not liable, matlab these cases, if you are otherwise not liable, for example, cooperative bank to cooperative society, other societies to society, other society to member, but your turnover exceeded 50 crore last year, then you have to deduct. So normally you may not be deducting, but if last year ka turnover exceeded 50 crore, then you have to deduct. Any interest that you receive from compensation awarded by motor accident claim tribunal and the interest amount is up to 50,000, no TDS. So one more threshold, monetary threshold. If it is more than 50, then only there will be TDS. Any interest on saving account, no TDS. It is taxable interest, but no TDS. TDS will come only on RD account and FD account. Saving account pe no TDS. Interest on income tax refund, no TDS. And SPV paying interest to business trust, no TDS, because SPV ka interest and dividend is exempt. Interest which is paid to bank, financial institution or any other notified transaction or institution, no TDS. The bank will deduct your TDS, but you will not deduct bank ka TDS. Next, 194B, Bazigar, lottery. Whenever any person winning from lottery, crossword puzzle, casual winnings, whenever you are paying more than rupees 10,000, this is per payment. Per payment. If payment to resident, then 30, non-resident, then 30 plus SC plus HEC, but all pays are therefore covered. Any casual winnings ka payment more than 10, dekho, less than 10, equal to 10 is also taxable. Lekin TDS will come only if it is more than 10%. If the winnings are wholly or partly in kind and the cash component is less than 30%, so payee has to give 30% cash and then only the payer will release the prize. And if the lottery agent is forbidden to participate and the prize comes on an unsold ticket, so TDS ka rate we will apply as per 194G, we can apply PGBP, but the receiving agent has to pay tax at 30% as per casual winnings. This section also comes at the time of payment. Likewise, for horse races, same monetary threshold, same TDS ka rates, 30 plus SC plus HEC at the time of payment. Any person you are making payment more than 10,000, then TDS of 30 or non-resident ke liye surcharge HEC is also going to come. Section 194C, payment to contractor, payer is same as hot favorite, Achij, all persons other than individual HF. Individual HF, if turnover exceeded 1 crore in business or 50 lakh in profession last year, that means if it was less than or equal to 1 crore or 50 lakh last year, we will not be covering. If single payment is more than 30,000 or annual payment is more than 1 lakh to any resident, because the rates given here are 1%. If the payee is individual HUF, to 1%. If the payee is other than individual HUF, to 2%. So, if you are paying to company, to 2%, LLP 2%, AOP 2%, but if you are paying to individual 1%, if you are paying to HUF, to 1%. Okay. So, if TDS is triggered due to single payment, for example, one payment is more than 40, then we will apply TDS only on that payment. But if TDS is getting triggered due to annual payment, then TDS will come on all the payments. In fact, in any past payment also, if you have not deducted TDS, then you have to deduct TDS of that amount also. Now, for example, you make payment of 25,000, thrice 75 hua. None of them have crossed the individual limit. Now you make a payment of 30, that makes it 1,05,000. So annual payment is triggered. So pure 1,05,000 ka TDS will come from that 30,000. And if the first payment was only 40,000, that payment has already suffered TDS. So later on that payment we will not deduct TDS. Again, let me repeat that line. If TDS is triggered due to single payment, then only that payment will attract TDS. If TDS is triggered due to annual payment, then all payments of the year, including past payments, will attract TDS. What is payment to contractor? Payment for carrying out any work or labor supply. Carrying out any work or लेबर सप्लाई, पे इज इंडिविजुअल HUF तो 1% TDS, अदरवाइज 2%. कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के डेफिनेशन में वी आर गोइंग टू कवर वर्क डन एंड सप्लाई ऑफ लेबर. सप्लाई ऑफ लेबर कैन बी सिविल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, सिक्योरिटी एजेंसी, एनीथिंग. वर्क डन के डेफिनेशन में वी विल कवर एडवर्टाइजमेंट एजेंसीज, एनी ब्रॉडकास्टिंग और स्पॉन्सरशिप रिलेटेड पेमेंट, एनी केटरिंग पेमेंट, एनी ट्रांसपोर्ट अदर देन रेलवेज, बिकॉज रेलवेज में वी आर मेकिंग पेमेंट टू द गवर्नमेंट, एनी अदर वर्क डन एक्सक्लूडिंग एम्प्लॉई बिकॉज इज कवर्ड इन 192 and professional because is covered in 194J. In fact, work will also include manufacturing. Lekin if it is not as per specification of the customer, then you are selling goods. Then it is not work. So no TDS. And if it is as per specification, still it is sale of goods only. Even if you are getting order. But in that order, if we are, as a contractor, I am putting my raw material and making it. That means raw material is also mine, service is also mine. You are buying goods from me. So no TDS. But when the customer is placing the order, and the customer is also providing me raw material, or relative of customer is providing raw material. Matlab, I am placing an order and I am giving you material. I am placing order, I am giving you material. Then I am making you payment only for labor. See, if I purchase ready-made goods, not as per specification, it is goods. No TDS. If I place order and you make it, still it is goods only. No TDS because you have used your own raw material. I have made total payment. If I place order and I give raw material, order and raw material, then I will pay only for labor and I will deduct TDS subject to other conditions like monetary limit and all. Personal payment by individual HUF, no TDS. Contractor and professional fees, no TDS. If payee is transporter having less than or equal to 10 goods carriages throughout the year and furnishes a PAN and declaration, no TDS. So, transporter who has given PAN plus declaration, no TDS. PAN plus declaration, no TDS. TDS will come on the entire bill value including the out of pocket expenses. If there is any incidental out of pocket expenses, then that will also attract TDS. If there is any GST added in the bill, us component ke upar there is no TDS. In fact, in the entire chapter on the GST component, there will be no TDS. If you are making payment to courier agencies, clearing and forwarding agent, advertisement contract for TV programs, all that will be covered in 194C only. There will be TDS on this. If you are making payment to airlines for a single ticket, there will be no TDS. But if you are chartering the full thing, then obviously there is going to be TDS. If you are making cold storage charges or any such storage charges, so uska bhi TDS will come in contractor, not come under rent ka section because it is like a service provided. And Supreme Court ka judgment, Japan Airlines, Singapore Airlines, if only asset is provided by someone, then it is a case of rent. But with asset, if multiple services are provided, like airport does for airline, then in that case, contractor ka section will be applicable. When an airline is making payment to airport, the contractor ka section is going to be applicable. TDS on insurance commission more than 15,000, 5%. You can read it if you want. Resident obviously, क्योंकि full tax होता है, then only the non-resident is covered. Next, life insurance एक तो यहाँ पे equal to is covered. So any payment by life insurance company 1 lakh or more, then 5% on the taxable income. देखो life insurance company से when we get payment, एक तो death cases में it is fully exempt. Maturity cases also, go check. Maturity cases में if your premium is within the limit 20, 10 or 15, so it is exempt. And now we also know कि वो ULIP का part है. ULIP issued on or after 1st Feb 21. It has to be with the premium has to be within the 20, 10, 15 limit plus the premium has to be up to 2,50,000. Otherwise the maturity will be taxable. Whenever the maturity is taxable, the entire amount is not taxable. It is the money received minus the premium paid over the years that is going to be taxable. So 5% TDS will get attracted on the amount that is taxable component of that total. Not on the entire amount, but the taxable component के ऊपर we are going to be applying the amount. The यहाँ पे equal to is covered, so you have to be very careful that equal to is going to be covered out here. This is going to be TDS at the time of payment, and बाकी का explanation तो we have already done earlier. Also in our when we did equity oriented mutual fund, but quickly, death cases fully exempt, so no TDS. Maturity cases, if the premium is within limit, up to this date 20%, after this date 10%, and after this date for disabled and handicapped 15% of the policy value, and plus that ULIP का amendment in equity oriented mutual fund is also going to be applicable. Any payment to देखो ये सब special rates of tax वाला provisions है, which are not, all of them are not put also out here. If you study special rates, it will get done. Payment to non-resident foreign national sportsmen, sports association or entertainer for the incomes which are covered in 115BBA. Which income? For sportsmen, game or sport articles advertisement. For sports association, the guaranteed amount, and for entertainer, the performances in India. 20% is the rate of tax, and payee is non-resident, so TDS will be 20 plus SC plus HC. NSS withdrawal, Bakwas section, but this is the limit and this is the rate of TDS if at all you are interested in learning. TDS on sale of lottery tickets, so that means lottery company will be paying the commission to the agent commission on sale of lottery tickets. It is 5% TDS, so obviously it has to be resident. Non-resident हुआ तो 195. Threshold you can learn, और 194H का rate and monetary limit are also applicable here. So you can learn the rate and monetary limit from the next section. For lottery commission and other commission, the rate of TDS and monetary threshold is same. Next section, part of Achij commission or brokerage, excluding obviously insurance and lottery commission because that is already covered. Part of Achij, therefore payer ka definition is same. All persons other than individual HUF if their turnover exceeded 1 crore or 50 lakh business profession respectively last year. So less than equal to 1 crore or 50 lakh will be excluded. To any resident, if you are paying more than 15,000, so 5%. Because rate is 5%, so payee will be resident. Otherwise, it would have been non-resident also. Non-resident will go in 195 if it is full tax at applicable rate. So commission and brokerage, excluding obviously lottery and insurance, commission. No TDS if payment of commission by MTNL or BSNL to their PCO franchisee. If RBI is paying commission to banks for tax collection, then there will be no TDS. And for the purpose of this section, commission ka matlab whenever one person acts on behalf of another person for any service or any goods, excluding securities. This is important. So when you are making payment of commission to your Demat account or anything, to your brokerage account, over there will be no TDS. Otherwise, there is going to be TDS on all other commission. Next, again a part of Achij. So same definition of payer. If you pay rent of more than 2,40,000 per annum per co-owner to someone who is a resident, then for land, building and furniture TDS will be 10%. Plant, machinery and equipment TDS will be 2%. For land, building, furniture 10%. For furniture, plant, machinery, equipment, it will be 2% to any resident. Non-resident again will go on 195 if it is more than 2,40,000, but only if the payer is this. That means individual HUF should be having turnover exceeding the thresholds which are given out here. If they are not exceeding but paying monthly more than 50, then we have 194 IB as you are aware of. For any refundable deposit, there will be no TDS, but non-refundable deposit is as good as extra rent. So there will be TDS. Any arrears or advance rent received will also be covered. Warehousing charges will also be covered. Payment to government, local authority or statutory corporation, no TDS. Government anyways no TDS under 196, but statutory corporation is important out here. Even if part of a land or building is let out, it will be covered. Even subleased properties will be covered out here. If there is any GST on the rent part, so uske upar nahi. GST component nowhere in the chapter, there will be TDS. If motor car is given only as a car, then 194 I will apply, but if it is all inclusive with multiple facilities like fuel, driver, everything, then 194 C will apply. And of course, REIT ke rent ke upar there will be no TDS because that rent is exempt. SPV dividend, SPV interest and rent. And if individual HUF who is not covered in 194 I, that means turnover did not exceed the threshold last year, so they will not deduct there, but they are paying more than 50,000 per month or part, only immovable property. Here only immovable property is covered, so they will also have to deduct 5% TDS of any resident person. This TDS will be on the last transaction of the year. So every month you don't have to deduct. If you are making full year ka payment in advance, so obviously there is only one payment, then you will have to deduct from that payment. But supposingly you are making monthly 1 lakh, so April to February no TDS. March ke 1 lakh mein se you deduct full 12 lakh ka TDS. Full year TDS from last month ka rent. And obviously if you vacate before March, so that month. Supposingly you vacate the property in December, so December ka rent. Full year TDS from last month ka rent. Full year TDS from last month ka rent. And of course, if you are making annual payment in advance, so that only works as your last month. No 10 to be acquired, and if 206 or 206 AA or AB is applicable, then maximum TDS will be rent of last month, but 206 AB will no longer be applicable because as per amendment 194 IA, IB and 194 M, this is an amendment. 206 AB will not be applicable. 206 AA maximum TDS will be rent of the last month. Maximum TDS is going to be rent of the last month. Moving on, TDS on payment of joint development agreement. So redevelopment of properties only for individual HUF, 10% on the amount paid in money, and baki joint development agreement is what? It is like your old property is sold, badle mein you are getting new property and money. Stamp duty value of property received plus amount received is selling price and taxable under capital gain. On the monetary part there will be 10% TDS. Next, last part of Achij TDS on professional fees. Again payer remains same, individual HUF if turnover exceeded the threshold. Last year 5 payments are covered here. Professional fees, fees for technical services, non-compete fees, royalty and directors sitting fees. More than 30,000 per annum separate limit for royalty, professional fees, FTS and non-compete fees. So if you pay professional fees of 25 and FTS of 25 and royalty of 25, no TDS, even if it is paid to the same person, because every transaction, professional fees, FTS, non-compete fees and royalty, all of them have got separate limit. But for director's sitting fees, there is no limit. When director sitting fees 10 rupees also there will be TDS, and for the other separate 30 is provided to any resident person. What is going to be the rate of TDS? Historically it was only 10, but auntie has made a lot of changes. For operation of call center it will be 2%. FTS, everything, actually call center is also FTS only, but now all FTS will go in 2%. If royalty is for sale and distribution or exhibition of film, मतलब films का royalty, मतलब TV channel paying to producer या OTT platform paying to producer, that will be 2%. And all other cases, मतलब professional fees, royalty other than films, non-compete fees, director sitting fees, they will all come here 10%. Personal payment by individual HUF, no TDS. Out of pocket expense में here there will be no TDS. Contractor में it is, but here there will be no TDS. Indirect tax, full chapter there will be no TDS. And any payment to sports persons and all that, they will all fall in 194J. Professional fees, obviously if they are resident then this will apply, and if the sportsman is non-resident then we know that foreign national sportsman ke liye there is a separate limit. Just like dividend, if mutual fund is distributing profit of more than 5,000 then 10% TDS only to resident, non-resident will go in 195. If there is payment of contractor commission or professional fees which is already covered, but the payer is not covered. Now when will payer not be covered? Either the turnover is less than the limit given, or personal payment in contractor and professional fees, then those transactions are not covered in 194 CHJ, and you are making such a big payment, more than 50 lakh rupees, like plastic surgery ka naam suna hai. So in respect of such transactions, 5% TDS if there is payment. So if you undergo plastic surgery, pay more than 50 lakh rupees. If you buy, you know, salaried employee buying some property for himself of 100 crore and paying 1 crore ka brokerage on that, something like that. Anything which is not covered in the other sections will get covered here if it is more than 50 lakh, 5% TDS. Here also 10 will not be applicable, and the meaning of terms are same as the respective sections. Next, compulsory acquisition of immovable property more than 2,50,000 ka payment, then 10% TDS will get attracted, obviously only at the time of payment, because this capital gain is also taxable only at the time of payment. And agriculture land pe there will be no TDS. Why? Dekho, rural agricultural land is not a capital asset, so whether sale or compulsory acquisition, no TDS. Urban agricultural land is a capital asset, uska sale is taxable under capital gains, but compulsory acquisition of urban agricultural land is exempt. So rural because it is not a capital asset, and urban because uska compulsory acquisition is exempt. Sale hoga to it is taxable. So sale wale section mein we will exclude only sale wala jo section and next section, we will exclude only rural agricultural land, but here both will be excluded, urban as well as rural. 194 IA, sale of property of 50 lakh or more. So third and the last section where equal to is covered. 192A RPF 50,000, 194 DA, that is life insurance, and 194 IA 50 lakh or more. And now this 50 lakh will be checked on what? Till last year it was 50 lakh ka actual consideration. So if actual consideration is 40 lakh, then we were not applying. But now if actual consideration is 40 and stamp duty value is 50, so we will check whichever is higher. Matlab for TDS to not apply, both have to be less than 50. Actual or stamp duty value, go check whichever is higher. If that whichever is higher is 50 lakh or more, then on that higher one, 1% TDS will come. That's the amendment. So till last year stamp duty value was irrelevant. Now we will check. Anyways, capital gain may be checked. So here also we will check actual or stamp duty value, whichever is higher. Threshold also will be applied of 50 lakhs or more on that, and TDS will also applied 1% on that. Obviously 1% hai to resident hi hoga, because non-resident say you will buy, so 195 will apply. Here urban agricultural land ka TDS will come because sale is taxable, only compulsory acquisition is exempt, but rural agricultural land pe it will not come. 10 will not be required. This section also has been removed from the non-filer wala provision, and when we are checking this 50 lakh ka threshold, this will be parking charges, membership of club charges, advance maintenance if taken, sea view charges, any extra additional charges plus taken, all inclusive payment will be taken out here. Next, 194N, if you are withdrawing cash from your own bank account, this is the only section in the chapter, entire chapter, where the amount is not your income. It's a contra entry, withdrawing money from own bank account. So payer will be obviously bank, cooperative bank, post office, own accounts are you are withdrawing cash, and the bank is therefore paying you cash to any person. If you are withdrawing more than 1 crore, then 2% TDS will be attracted. See, honestly speaking, there is one controversy out here. If you go and read the Income Tax Act, pure and simple terms में it is given that TDS will come on the amount. अब वो amount is basically if you are withdrawing 1 crore and 10 lakhs, so the amount is 1.1 CR. Correct or no? But all ICAI suggested answer में they are not taking 2% on the entire amount, they are taking 2% on the excess. मतलब if the withdrawal is 1.1 crore तो वो 1 crore 10 lakh तो 10 lakh का 2% is being calculated. 10 lakh का 2%. मतलब the question is full पे आएगा कि वो excess over 1 lakh के ऊपर 2% TDS will come. That's the question. Plain language of the law में it is entire amounts. I stick to what I have written in my book. But strictly going by ICAI answers, so we will deduct TDS on the excess. MCQs में भी you modify the answers according to this. Let me be clear. I am going here with ICAI का answer, and as per ICAI का answer, we will be taking on the excess over 1 crore, not on the entire amount. I am modifying my book only to respect ICAI because the law is not clear. Law says whenever any person withdraws any amount in excess of rupees 1 crore, TDS will come on such amount. When they say such amount means the withdrawal amount get the excess amount. Withdrawal is 1 crore 10 lakh, but excess is 10 lakh. That's the question of law out here. But strictly going by ICAI suggested 1 crore के ऊपर वाला amount, excess वाला amount 10 lakh. And your non-filer का provision, that section was not applicable because separate is given. We will see non-filer of last 3 years. एक तो 20 to 23 के लिए you can't be a non-filer for 21-22. So which 3 years we will check? 20-21, 19-20, 18-19. 18-19, 19-20, 20-21. If you have not filed, देखो full chapter के लिए we have to see non-filer only of 1 year. But for this section, you will be treated as non-filer if you are non-filer for 3 years. 3 years का non-filer होगा, then this section will be applicable. And what change will apply? We will apply 2% after 20 lakh rupees. And after 1 crore, we will make it 5%. So for filers, after 1 crore, 2%. After 1 crore, 2%. For non-filers, after 20 lakh, 2% till 1 crore, like slab rates. So 30 lakh होएगा तो 10 lakh का 2%, 80 lakh होएगा तो 60 lakh का 2%, 90 lakh होएगा तो 70 lakh का 2%, 1 crore होएगा तो 80 lakh का 2%, 1 crore 5 lakh होगा ना तो 80 lakh का 2%, 5 lakh का 5%, up to 1 crore 2%, excess का 5%, up to 1 crore 2%, excess का 5%, and first 20 lakh again excess we are taking by because of ICAI suggested answer. If you were to take my opinion going by the plain language of the law, the full amount, but going by ICAI answer, we will take after 20 lakh 2% and after 1 crore 5% for non-filers. And your non-filer will be all the 3 years. Okay, non-filer का, and filer के लिए only after 1 crore only 1 rate 2%. This TDS only, obviously without withdrawal, how will we come to know? TDS only at the time of payment not to be included in the income of the payee, only section in the entire chapter. Monetary limit will be aggregate withdrawals from all accounts in that bank. Of course, if you are maintaining multiple accounts, we will see total withdrawal of that bank. Now, if one is in ICICI, other is in HDFC, so there will be no such database, and this section will not apply if you are making payment to government, bank to bank, or any other notified person. Next, sale of goods through e-commerce for resident, non-resident के लिए we have equalization levy. But if an e-commerce operator is making payment to e-commerce participant who is resident, like Ola making payment to Ola ka driver, then there is going to be TDS at 1%. Zomato making payment to any restaurant, then there will be TDS of 1%. For residents, we are going to have this. What is e-commerce? Supply of goods or service over a digital network. This will include professional fees and all which are covered in 194J. Sometimes it is possible that customers make directly payment to the e-commerce participant, like we travel in Ola. If we don't pay by Ola money, so we will pay cash to the driver. Possible hai? So that payment will also be included as payment. Supposingly, Ola का driver के साथ हिसाब करने के time पे there is 2 lakh rupees paid by Ola and 1 lakh paid by customers to the driver. So total will be treated as 3 lakh and Ola will deduct 3 lakh ka 1% from the 2 lakh which it is paying. Direct payment will also be included in payment by e-commerce to e-commerce participant. That way, if you observe, there is no threshold prescribed. So every rupee will attract TDS. But if the payee is individual HUF, like that poor taxi driver who furnishes Aadhaar PAN, anyways KYC ke time pe you have to furnish, and total in the year is up to rupees 5 lakh. Most likely it will be up to rupees 5 lakh only. Total for the year is up to rupees 5 lakh. So in that case, there will be no TDS at all. So mostly the drivers of Ola will be immune. But if Zomato is paying a restaurant, it will not be immune. that way. And if TDS is deducted under this section, then there will be no TDS under any other section. But also note one of the other newly introduced sections. I will talk to you. I will talk about that also when we come to that. If TDS is deducted in this section, there will be no TDS in any other section. If this section is applied, then no other section will be applicable. Next, TDS for specified senior citizen. First of all, who is specified senior citizen? Resident who is 75 years or more. कितना कीड़ा काटता है आंटी को. Full income tax law में senior citizen is 60. But for this section, it is 75. For everything, she wants to keep an exception, and we have to learn and teach that exception. So, resident 75 years or more, only pension income, no other income. But then pension will come in bank account. No, so we have to allow interest income in that account where the pension is coming. So, only pension and interest income. Actually, the law is only pension, but wo bank account ka interest has to by default come. So, only pension and interest, no other income, and give in writing. Resident 75 years, only pension and bank interest and no other income, give the declaration. Then what will the bank do? The bank will deduct your full tax, including your rebate, give you deduction. Bank will compute like employers compute, no salaried employees ka. Bank will deduct full tax, and then the senior citizen can just relax, enjoy, no need to do anything. In fact, no need to file return of income. Also, basically, senior citizen ka entire liability and responsibility will be handled by the bank itself. Next, TDS on purchase of goods. Whenever a buyer whose last year ka turnover is more than 1 crore. देखो, same thing is there in TCS also, but there we have to check seller का last year का turnover. So, buyer का last year का turnover exceeding 10 crore, तो TDS will apply, and seller का last year का turnover exceeding 10 crore, तो TCS seller will collect, and both exclude, तो TDS will apply because this section of TDS will override TCS. Normally, TCS overrides any TDS का section, but this section will override that TCS वाला part. तो only buyer का last year का turnover exceeded 10 crore, then TDS will apply. Only seller का exceeded last year का 10 crore, then TCS will apply. Both का exceeded 10 crore, then TDS will apply. Any buyer whose last year का turnover has exceeded 10 crore, and this year you are buying goods worth more than 50 lakh, then 0.1% on the excess. तो 55 lakh होगा तो 5 lakh का 0.1%. 1 crore होगा तो 50 lakh का, 1 crore 10 lakh होगा तो 60 lakh का. First 50 lakh there will be no TDS. Excess का. पर buyer का turnover should be more than 10 crore. So last year का turnover more than 10 crore, this year का purchase is more than 50 lakhs. And अगर seller का है तो then seller will collect TCS from the buyer. Same threshold, same rate, same excess over 50 lakh. And both का है तो this will apply because I have clearly told you that TDS will overrule. Okay, 194Q will not apply if there is TDS under any other section. जैसे contractor के अंदर major component is labor, but साथ में goods are also covered. तो TDS will not apply. Or TCS has been applicable, like alcoholic liquor या तेंदू leaves, or any TCS is applicable except the last part. मतलब 194Q will override full TDS and full TCS, but TCS का जो last part है, मतलब 194Q will be overridden by full TDS and full TCS, but it will override the last part. In other words, TDS का full chapter या TCS का full chapter will get more respect than 194Q. If any other TDS or TCS applies, then 194Q will not apply. But if it is part 5 where the seller ka turnover has exceeded 10 crore and which is why ये 50 lakh के excess का 0.1% is applicable, then TDS will apply. 194Q will override the last part of TCS. There buyer will deduct TDS, seller will not collect the TCS. And any other goods part 1, 2, 3, 4 होगा, then seller will collect, then 194Q is not going to be applicable. Newly introduced section with effect from 1st July 22. Any benefit or perquisite provided in course of business or profession. So first of all, if you observe the payer ka definition, it is hot favorite, and thus it is no longer achij, it is rachij. 194 R. Normally employers provide benefit or perquisite, but what is happening is now businessmen also provide benefit or perquisite to professionals. Like for example, a coaching class is saying its professor that this much I will give you in cash for taking my batches, and then you can go for a foreign holiday with your family. I will pay that money also. A pathology lab is paying a foreign holiday expenses of a doctor. That's perquisite. If the benefit of perquisite exceeds rupees 20,000 to paid to any resident, then 10% on the aggregate value of such benefit or perquisite. If the benefit in course of business or profession provided is more than 20, but you need to be very clear that the benefit should go to the professional, matlab the professor या the doctor. ऐसा नहीं है कि if you know other city का coaching class is inviting a faculty and says that come we will pay your hotel ka bill, so then in that case the professor is not getting any advantage. The class is calling the professor for its own work. But during that trip of 15 days when the professor is taking lectures, if that coaching class is also bearing expenses of the professor ka family, then that is extra perquisite. You have to see what personal benefit the professional got. That is your perquisite. If the benefit is for the organization, that is not any benefit or perquisite provided to the employee or the professor. Understood? The benefit should be taken by the recipient. And if the benefit is more than 20,000, then 10% TDS will be attracted. Of course, benefit in kind hoega. The same as 194B. Matlab, the perquisite receiver will pay 10% to the company and company will then release the perquisite. Next, 194S. Again, 1st July 22. Tidding. Any payment for purchase of virtual digital asset, cryptocurrency, NFT, Dogecoin. खरीद लो, अभी भी बोल रहा हूँ. To any resident person, then TDS at 1% will be applicable for purchase of virtual digital asset. 1% TDS will be applicable. When the payer is such an individual HUF whose turnover did not exceed the threshold, matlab non-hot favorite, then the monetary limit will be more than 50,000. More than 50,000 हुआ तो 1% TDS, and these payers are immune from the requirement of TAN and that non-filer wala rule. And in other cases, matlab company is making payment or firm or LLP is making payment, या individual HUF, matlab any hot favorite person is making payment, then we will apply 20,000 ka threshold plus 10 is also required and non-filer ka provision will also be required. So non-hot favorite payers 50,000 ka threshold and immunity from 10 and filing wala provision, and hot favorite ka payers 20,000 ka threshold and 10 and 206 AB will also be applicable. If it is kind, to follow the same system. And very important, this section shall override 194O. वैसे 194O में क्या लिखा था? If this is applicable, then nothing else. If this is applicable, then nothing else. But 194S will be bigger than 194O and will be bigger than anything else. आप chronology समझिए. कितना complication? मतलब 194O will apply over the entire chapter, but not over 194S. 194S will apply over 194O. Next, payment to non-resident. Any person making any payment to non-resident or foreign company which is taxable in India, then TDS at applicable rates or the rate given in the TAA, obviously whichever is more beneficial. TDS will come obviously only if the income is taxable in India but not covered in any of the TDS section, like salary mein it is covered, या non-resident foreign national sportsman mein it was covered, या bazigar bada bazigar mein it was covered. Whatever is not covered will get covered out here. And if the income of the payee is not taxable, then you have to get a certificate from the AO. The payer can also take clarification from own AO. The normal rate of tax students are expected to know, but the DTAA ka rates will be given to you in the question. Obviously, SC HEC will be added in the applicable rates, but if the DTAA ka rate is the answer, to DTAA mein there is never going to be any SC HEC. And foreign remittances ka agar if you don't furnish your form 15 CACB, तो 1 lakh का penalty is going to be applicable. 1 lakh का penalty बचाने के लिए 10-20,000 तो very much reasonable for charging for 15 CA 15 CB का certification by chartered accountants. Okay. Next, grossing up principle. If the payment has to be net of tax, so we have to gross up. We very well know 100 minus 10 is 90. So if payment is 90, so 100 is how much? Gross up करके we have to find out the TDS का amount. If payment is made to following people, payee. मतलब if they are payer, though there will be TDS. Payee is government, local authority, municipal corporation, mutual fund, RBI, exempt income, then there will be no TDS. Now, other points about TDS. If TDS is deducted but not deposited, it will not help you in your office, but very important case law in exam, then payee will get credit. Supreme Court judgment Anusuya Alva. If TDS is deducted, you get credit whether the payer deposits or no. Dekho, in your office this case law will be helpful to you only when you are fighting your appeals. Lekin in exam it is very useful. In fact, if the payee does not have TDS certificate, still you will get credit. You just have to prove that my TDS got deducted, you will get credit. If the payee is a resident individual, you can furnish form 15G. या senior citizen payee will furnish form 15H. For dividend and NSS withdrawal, there will be no TDS. Just furnish the form that I don't fall in tax bracket, no TDS. if the payee is any person other than firm or company. So for all these payments, RPF, interest on securities, other interest, your insurance commission, your payment by insurance companies, rent, mutual fund profit, same form you can submit if you don't fall in tax bracket. But this is only for resident individual. This is for everyone other than firm and company. Submit this form and you will be granted immunity from TDS. And for other sections, you can directly furnish to the, not to the payer, but you will have to take AOCA approval. Furnish this form number 13 and your PAN for low or no TDS. If the payment is more than basic exemption limit, then your form will not be accepted. Lekin senior citizen ka 15H will be accepted, only 15G will not be accepted. Now that the deduction duty of TDS is over, now it is the duty of the payer to deposit the money. The money has to be deposited by the 7th of the next month, मतलब अप्रैल का 7th में, मई का 7th जून, लेकिन मार्च का TDS के लिए we give extended timing up to 30th of April. तो first 11 months का TDS 7th of the next month, March का TDS 30th of April is going to be applicable. Then quarterly TDS returns have to be filed. TDS returns have to be filed quarterly. तो जून क्वार्टर के लिए 31st जुलाई, दिसंबर क्वार्टर के लिए 31st जैन, सितंबर क्वार्टर के लिए अक्टूबर, मार्च क्वार्टर के लिए 31st May, because April में there is no 31st, so 31st after the quarter, 31st immediately after the quarter. But IA, IB, as their nature is, IA is once in a lifetime, IB is once in the year. So this you have to do within 30 days from payment come return. Matlab 30 days from the end of the month, you have to furnish payment come return. Payment also do, return also you furnish. No need to do it on a quarterly basis. If you miss your due date of TDS return, first day se fees will come, 200 rupees per day, but not exceeding the TDS amount. And if the delay is more than 1 year, the penalty will also come. This we have already seen in the penalty ka chapter also. Finally, for the proof of the pay, we need to issue PDS certificate. Honestly, no pay asks for certificate because it automatically gets reflected in your 26 AIS, in your AIS. Automatically you get credit. But still, if you insist, तो salary के लिए form 16 up to 31st में, for all other payments quarterly form होगा इस ड्यू डेट के 15 डेज बाद. सो रिटर्न के ड्यू डेट के 15 डेज के अंदर अंदर फ्रॉम द ट्रेसिस वेबसाइट द पेयर विल डाउनलोड एंड गिव इट 15th August, 15th Feb, 15th November, 15th June. Within 15 days from the previous due date, this has to be given. And for IB and IC, form 16B and 16C, within 15 days from this due date, basically 15 days के अंदर delay का year also, this is an amendment, it will become 500 rupees per day का penalty. This is amended, but this is such irrelevant part that it is okay that you can ignore also. Interest will come, penalty will come for all other failures also. 100% of the TDS amount penalty for non-deduction and non-deposit. If you don't deduct, then 1% per month or part interest on the TDS amount, and if you deduct but you don't pay, then 1.5%. And the time limit will be for deduction, the date when you were supposed to deduct till you actual deduct, and for non-payment from when you actual deduct to your actual payment. Further, you will also face disallowance. If you don't deduct only, that's a crime. If you deduct but don't deposit up to due date, वैसे 7th of the next month is the due date, but after 7th there can be interest. Disallowance will come if you miss the due date of return filing. If the payee is resident, then 30% will be disallowed. Payee is non-resident, then 100% will be disallowed. But in future year, if you deposit the money, the whatever is the disallowed amount today will be allowed as a deduction in that future year. That's the first part of the chapter, that is TDS. Moving to the second part, TCS, which has got 5 parts. Part 1, whenever any seller sells any goods to the buyer who is a trader, not a consumer but trader. So on further sale, there will be income and tax. So what the seller will do? He is collecting his payment plus collect tax and receive the total. This amount he can keep and this he will give to the government. It is like the buyer has paid advance tax to the government but through the seller. So buyer will pay the seller and seller will pay to the government and buyer will get credit. So buyer ka actual expense is 100 only. 1 ka he will get credit, and if there is no liability to refund. In that chapter, all the responsibilities were on the payer. Here, collect, remit, everything is on the seller. But TCS in part 1 applies only to selected industries. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption 1%. Tendu leaves, tobacco leaves 5%. Timber के ऊपर 2.5%. Other forest product 2.5%. Scrap, mechanical wear and tear, kachra set 1%. And minerals, coal, lignite, iron ore 1%. Debit or receipt, whichever is earlier. Seller is nothing but hot favorite का payer. So same as hot favorite, राचीज हो गया now, आचीज. And buyer, you have to collect TCS from everyone but not from them. मतलब government, central government, state government, public sector company, commission, high commission, consulate, embassy of a foreign country. And retail में this part 1 does not apply because part 1 applies only to resellers, traders. Part 3 में उल्टा है. Part 3 में they are saying that resellers पे no TCS, only consumers के ऊपर. तो यहाँ पे consumers के ऊपर there will be no TCS. Second, Sale of licenses, license to run a parking lot, toll plaza, mine or quarry, 2% on that license. But if the license is given to public sector company, then there will be no TCS. Sale of motor car, if you are purchasing motor car for own consumption, so manufacturer selling to the showroom, there will be no TCS because those transactions will be reported. Only for own consumption, if you are buying more than rupees 10 lakh, then 1% TCS on the entire bill. You must be wondering, पहला introduction के chapter में you said that I fall under rebate. You should zoom करके this person falls under rebate, and then TCS में you are showing that you have purchased a car worth more than rupees. When I was studying for CA, no, so this was my dream car कि एक दिन बड़ा होके Honda City खरीदूंगा. It was my dream. And after clearing CA, my father wanted to give to me. पैसा नहीं था. He knew I wanted, but he did not have money. I said one day I will do it on my own, and I did it. In fact, COVID times mein I did it. So this is what, if for those of you all who want to know that what is the contribution of CA in life, I see money does not measure happiness, but it can reduce a lot of sadness in life also. Okay, most importantly, you have to be happy, but when your dreams get fulfilled, you are happy, and this is the contribution of CA. You may be very, very upset with the kind of pressure you have in your life right now, but it's a matter of time, and see how beautiful life is just once you clear CA. What a lovely life you are going to have. Then you will start recommending CA to everyone. In commerce, there was never, there is not, and there will never be any course equal to, even equal to, far equal to चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी. कोई कोर्स दूर तक आके सीए को मैच नहीं कर सकता. इन कॉमर्स सीए is one side and nothing else, everything else is on the other side. That's the contribution of chartered accountancy in my life. Live example, rags to riches, nothing to everything. It is the contribution of this CA course. And then like me, all my other professional qualified faculty colleagues, same, it's the contribution of their CA degree in their life, but just to increase a few followers and a few subscribers, if they think that it is appropriate to give bad words to ICAI on social media only to increase a few followers, I pity them. Okay, तो बहुत शो ऑफ मारा. हाँ सर, बहुत देखे ऐसा लोन पे लिया होगा गरीब, तेरा शक्ल देख के पता चलता है तूने लोन लिया होगा. That is not important. Okay, that is not important. Important क्या है? If the value of the motor car is more than 10 lakh, then 1% on the entire bill value, TCS the company will collect. Of course, it was not an extra cost because later I got that as refund. So garib, no, below basic exemption limit. So later I got it as refund, but the company collected. Irrespective of any mode, though abhi cash to hota nahi hai because 2 lakh ka to cash transaction can't be done also. TCS will come only if sold to consumers because dealer distributor ke upar there is no TCS. Obviously, these people if they are buying, there cannot be TCS under any case. Public sector company in the business of carrying passengers, no TCS. This TCS will come only at the time of payment. There is, वैसे भी they take full advance only. The saying whichever is earlier का कोई मतलब भी नहीं है. Individual HUF only if the turnover वही same hot favorite exceeded this much amount. Limit is per vehicle and not per annum. मतलब you buy 8 lakh का car, then there will be no TCS on that. Okay, but if you buy one car of 16 lakh, then there will be TCS. And these last 2 points are opinion of professor, handsome professor का opinion है. Second hand vehicle भी, if the conditions are fulfilled, there will be TCS. ऐसा किधर भी नहीं लिखा है that it has to be a new motor car. New word is not written here. Motor car is written. But of course, two wheeler पे नहीं आएगा because two wheeler is not a car. But these 2 points are my opinion. Okay. Next, part 4, remittance on foreign currency. Whenever first, if you are selling overseas tour package, मतलब tours and travels guy, this is the easy part. So whenever you are selling a foreign tour, collect 5% TCS from your customer. So if you want to go to Dubai trip or Singapore trip, you go and pay 5 lakh rupees to the tour operator. He will take 5 lakh plus 5%. And that 5% is not increasing your tour cost. You will get refund. But the government wants to know who has money for going for foreign trips. Okay. So without any monetary threshold, every rupee by 5% TCS. But later the customer will get it as refund. It is just a collection. And for other cases, whenever you are sending money outside under the liberalized remittance scheme of RBI, the first 7 lakh pe there will be no TCS. Tour package pe 1 rupee also there will be TCS, but for other remittances like foreign education loan या foreign में any investment or anything, first 7 lakh no TCS, excess over 7 lakh, excess के ऊपर आएगा. For education loan 0.5% and for other cases 5%. So, tour operator every rupee will attract TCS. Other cases में first 7 lakh no TCS, excess pay if it is education loan then 0.5% and other than education loan तो 5% TCS will apply. If tour seller has collected, so obviously then again the authorized dealer does not have to collect the TCS. Again, if TDS is applicable and deducted, then TCS will not be applying. This is whichever is earlier. Once again, these people ka TCS will not come, same as part 1, 2 or 3. And last part. Now observe, seller ka turnover more than 10 crore, goods other than part 1, 2, 3, 4, like alcoholic liquor, ya licenses, ya motor car will not be covered. Anything other than this, and you are selling more than 50 lakh to the buyer, so 0.1% on excess, receipt basis. So if you observe, more than 50 lakh, 0.1% on the excess, more than 50 lakh, 0.1% on the excess. In 194Q, he has to deduct, and here he has to collect. So if iska turnover exceeds 10 crore, then he will deduct TDS. This is same. If iska turnover exceeds 10 crore last year, so he will collect. But if both, then this will override. This will override. Okay. So any other part 1, 2, 3, 4 ka TCS is applicable, then 194Q will not apply. But if part 5 ka TCS is applicable, then this will not apply. 194Q will apply. No TCS if TDS is applicable and deducted. These people we do not deduct. We are already aware of. And no TCS under part 5 if 194Q is attracted. Same non-furnishing PAN ka rule is going to be same, but the rate is different. Double or 5%, whichever is higher. But for part 5, iska double is 0.2 and 5, that will make it 50 times. So we don't want to make it so big, so 1%. So normally it will be double or 5%, whichever is higher, but this will not be double. This will be only 1%. Part 5 ke liye. And non-filer ka with the same amendment, last year tak it was 2 years ka not filed, but now only 1 year ka not filed. We already know we will take 2021. We already saw that us year ka TDS plus TCS total has to be 50,000 or more, 5% or double, whichever is higher, 5% of double, whichever is higher. If non-resident, no P in India, then this non-filer will not apply. And of course, if both sections are applicable to this or this, whichever is higher, that's your TDS and TCS. Again, like assessment procedure, one of the biggest chapters of your syllabus. Now moving on, we have some very small chapters. Advanced tax, these are also advanced tax, 234 ABC. They are also a part of intermediate syllabus, but not in that much detail. You have to do like final students do it. And of course, the other chapters in today's sessions like refund, recovery, proceedings, they are applicable only for final CA ka student. So any tax that you pay up to 31st March is advanced tax. Even if the last due date is 15th March, till 31st March it is advanced tax. After that we call it self-assessment tax. All assessees have to pay advanced tax except resident 60 years no business. Resident 60 years no business. Resident 60 years no business. They don't have to pay advanced tax. But everybody else has to, if their final payable including surcharge and cess is 10,000 more, equal to 10 BNI your final payable, then you have to pay. Equal to 9999 aa raha hai, so you don't have to pay. 10 or more you have to pay. But resident senior citizen not having business don't have to pay. In other words, you can say only 2 people have got immunity from payment of advance tax. 1, resident 60 years no business irrespective of amount. 2, anybody having final payable of 9999 or less. How will you calculate? Estimate your total income and tax liability, take all the credits, so you find out the final payable. Your estimate can go wrong and you will suffer interest. For wrong estimate, that is 234C. For wrong estimate, you suffer interest, and full year ka shortfall hota hai, so 234B also comes. You have to pay your advance tax. Idhar itna hi bola hai. Due dates are 15 June, September, December, March, 15, 45, 7500. This is something that you are aware of. But anybody covered under presumptive taxation, only this last installment of 15th March is going to be applicable. Only the last installment. Any tax paid after 15th March will also be treated as advance tax if paid up to 31st March. 234C will apply because you missed the last due date, but you can save 234B if you pay at least 90% till 31st March. And if you don't pay that, then 234B and C both will be applicable. If you fail to pay, obviously assessee deemed to be in default, and needless to say, any advance tax paid, you are going to get credit of the same. Obviously, you will get credit of the advance tax. Next, 234 A, B, C, D, in fact, E, F, G, H, I think auntie will take this also up to Z. Assessee is going to pay interest or fees to the government. Principal will be the amount of tax. Rate will be 1% per month or part throughout the chapter. For 234A and B, we will check on the assessed tax, but 234C on the return tax. 234D is interest on excess refund that we learn in the next chapter, not relevant for intermediate students. 234E, we have already seen fees for late filing. Late filing fees 200 per day, but not more than the TDS amount in the quarter. 234F, delay in furnishing return of income. Normally it is 5,000, but income up to 5 lakh to only rupees 1,000. Then 234G, college, association, university has to give details of the donors. Here also same as TDS, TCS, 200 per day, but maximum to the extent of amount in default. 234H, failure to link PAN and Aadhaar. You had to link finally up to 31st March 22. That date is gone. If you link up to 30th June, that is delay up to 3 months to 500 rupees. And if you link beyond that to 1000 rupees. And beyond maybe isme last date that you have is 31st March 23. After this your PAN will become inoperative. So 3 months ka delay. Ek to ye hai last date to link. 3 months ka delay to 500 rupees fees, and beyond 3 months to 1000 rupees fees. Failure to link your PAN and Aadhaar. Now one by one, if we talk about the interest, 234A, delay in filing ROI within the normal time limit 139(1), or in response to 148 notice for reassessment, 153A is now gone. Principal is going to be the outstanding tax, rate 1%, date immediately after the due date of return filing, and ending with you file so it will stop, best judgment so it will stop, ya payment. Supreme Court judgment, Dr. Pranay Roy, payment if you make, self-assessment tax ka payment if you make, so that date we will stop. Here there is going to be extra tax because this is reassessment order. On that extra tax, 1% per month or part of a month, the notice will give you time limit to file return. So date after expiry of the notice, and end date will be filing or best judgment or payment, whichever is earlier. If earlier you have not filed return and updated return is your first return, then obviously the tax will be taken as per updated return, but we will exclude the additional income tax. Confusion nahi hona chahiye. Updated return will always have new tax liability, but along with the new tax liability there is some penalty, 25% and 50%. That penalty ka naam they have kept additional income tax. So they will take penalty by calling it tax because they don't want to give you opportunity of being heard. But that tax will not be included. But that because that is penalty. Penalty pe we are not levying interest. Only tax pe. So that additional income tax will be excluded. 234B ka part A. If you fail to pay 90% advance tax up to 31st March. Dekho 15 March if you miss, the 234C will come. But 31st March tak 90% you can pay for saving 234B, and if you don't do that, the entire shortfall 1% per month or part, first day of assessment year, matlab very next day after 31st March, payment or completion of assessment, whichever is earlier. And with respect to the extra tax that we determine under 147, 1% per month or part of a month, from that year to which this income pertains, first day of the relevant assessment year till the date of payment or completion of assessment, whichever is earlier. If your updated return is your first return, obviously tax will be taken as per updated return. If return was filed earlier and then you are updating, obviously there will be some new tax, so we will take extra tax as per the new tax as per the updated return, and additional income tax will be excluded for your tax purposes because they are only calling it additional income tax. Actually it is nothing but penalty. 234C, installment by installment we will go. 15 June tak we have to pay 15%. But even if you pay 12%, then there will be no interest. Matlab we are allowing 80% margin. No interest if 12 is also paid. वैसे 15 you have to pay, but no interest if 12 is paid. And if 12 is also not paid, then the shortfall into 1% for 3 months. 1% 3 months on entire shortfall. Likewise, 15 September pe we have to pay 45, but for interest you can pay 36 also. So 15 ke jagah pe you can pay 12 and 45 ke jagah pe you can pay 36. But if you don't pay 36 also, then entire shortfall 1% for 3 months. Up to 15 December you have to pay 75%. Here you don't get any margin, entire shortfall 1% for 3 months, and 15 March may you have to pay 100% if you miss this date. Shortfall 1%, but only for 1 month. It is 3331 shortfall into 1%. 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, and last May 1 month. And in the first 2 installments, 15 ke place pe you can pay 12 and 45 ke place pe you can pay 36. But for people who fall in presumptive taxation, as we right now saw, only the last installment is applicable, then only this calculation will be done. Only 1% 1 month ka interest will be calculated. 234C is calculated on the return income. 80% is only for 15 ka 12 and 45 ka 36, only for the first 2 installments. For the last installment, be careful, you have to do only 1 month ka interest. Assessee having a shortfall on 15th March should pay at least 90%, so at least 234B can be saved, though C will be attracted. if there is any default in payment of advance tax due to estimation of following, मतलब capital gain you could not estimate, या casual winning, या PGBP which you are earning for the first time, या dividend income, they are all sudden surprising income. Then for the installments which are over, for example, if you earn this income on 1st December, then June and September के installment में we will not count this tax, we will directly take in December. This tax we will take directly in the installment which comes after earning the income. All the interest that you are paying, उसका कोई deduction नहीं है because it is like a penal nature, so no deduction. Normally income is rounded off to the nearest multiple of 10 income and tax both, but for the purpose of interest calculation because it is 1%, no? So we will take nearest 100 and of course updated return होगा तो tax as per updated return, subject to certain conditions, certain cases you can take waiver of interest from CCIT, DGIT, you can request them from waiver. If you don't make payment within the time limit after getting demand notice, you will be held as assessee in default, and once you get demand notice you have to make payment within 30 days, otherwise from the 31st day 1% per month of interest will be attracted up to the date of payment on the outstanding amount after the 30th day. Here also you can apply for waiver and penalty is also going to get attracted. So that's our chapter interest under 234 A, B and C. We will be able to complete at least refund and recovery proceedings even if we are not able to complete transfer pricing. Okay. Next, refund and interest on refund. Whenever the taxes paid by you are more than payable, then you will be getting refund. You will be getting refund. Lekin in case of death, in insolvency, obviously the representative and clubbing ke income mein the person who is offering the income to tax will be getting the refund. You can get your refund only by filing ROI. There is no other way of getting refund. But if it is due to appeal, so that will be given to you automatically because you won the appeal. However, if the original assessment is set aside, so you have to wait for the fresh assessment, and if your assessment is annulled, then only extra will be refunded. Full tax will not be refunded. If at the time of doing 143(1), AO feels that I don't want to grant refund because later I may do scrutiny. 143(1) is compulsory, no, before doing scrutiny. Then he can withhold your refund. Next, this chapter is only to claim refund. You cannot get your liability modified out here. The refund that you are getting, uspe you will get interest also. Principal will be obviously refund. They are, sorry for the language, but they are rascals. Hindi mein haram khors. Some political leader said that haram khor is not a bad word. It means naughty. Okay, so they are naughty. When they charge interest, they charge 1%, but when they pay you, they are paying 0.5%. Usme bhi. If the refund is due to advance tax, TDS, TCS, then from the first day of the assessment year. Full year mein they will take, but start from first day. And if it is self-assessment tax, then date of payment. And in that also, again, if you file belated ROI, then from the date of filing. Matlab, if you file your return on time, so you get interest from 1st April. And if you file your return late, then from the date of filing. And for self-assessment tax, payment or ROI, whichever is later, till which date? Till the date of granting the refund. No interest if refund is less than 10% of the assessed tax. Because 234B mein we are also giving you 10% ka window. So here also there will be 10% window. Interest paid by the assessee is not allowed, but interest received by the assessee is going to be taxable. When you pay interest, you don't get deduction, but when you receive interest, you have to pay tax under income from other sources. If the delay is due to assessee, for that period you will not get any interest. Obviously, if refund amount changes, so interest also is going to change. There is a time limit within which they have to grant you, otherwise they will give you extra interest. They will always pay you simple interest. There is no concept of compound interest anywhere in income tax. However, if they give principal and don't give interest, then you will get interest on interest also. Supreme Court judgment, Narendra Modi doshi. Okay. If there is any refund in the current year and past ka some outstanding taxes which you have not paid, then the IT authorities can adjust your current year refund. They can do it. You cannot. They can do it. You cannot. Okay. And if you have taken excess refund, then you have to give the money back with interest. Excess amount ke upar 0.5% from the date you took the refund till the date of completion of assessment. Finally, a newly introduced provision here, tax of non-resident is paid as per grossing up principle. Non-resident ko we have given grossing up se amount, usko net amount, usko gross up karke apne pocket se we have made some tax payment, but later we feel that that tax was not required to be paid. So within 30 days you can apply for refund, and within 6 months from the end of the month the AO will decide whether it has to be given to you, but only when you have paid it on grossing up principle. Next chapter, recovery proceeding. Whenever you are assessing in default, then the TRO will come, take away your movable, immovable property. If you are ekdam bhuka, nanga, bhikshakarak, bhikari, so he will take you away. and appoint a receiver to manage your property. Jurisdiction, income tax में it has become totally irrelevant jurisdiction. TRO का certificate you cannot challenge except if there is any arithmetical error. TRO can grant you stay. This is why CIT appeals is also entitled to grant you stay. Other than sending TRO to defaulting assessee, we can approach the third party who is going to pay any income or holding any asset of the defaulting assessee. We can approach him also for the tax dues or the dues of third party towards the defaulting assessee, whichever is lower. Third party will be liable for lower amount. Later, if the third party has made payment to the assessing officer, then you will be absolved towards defaulting assessee. But if you made payment to defaulting assessee, so you will be personally liable under 222. Matlab we will send TRO to the third party, but not 226. We will not go to the fourth party. And if the third party says that there is no such liability, then again, no problem. If it is true, then no problem. False, then again you will be personally liable. We can take help of state government for recovery. We can take help of foreign government for recovery. Same as tax, we can recover interest and penalty also. Anybody who is domiciled in India and leaving India has to get income tax clearance certificate before leaving India. Domiciled outside India and has come to India for the purpose of earning income. Outside India wala earning income ke liye. Any Indian going abroad does not require income tax clearance certificate unless you are involved in serious financial irregularities. And if income tax recovery was only partial recovery, then they cannot keep the full amount. They have to divide between the other departments in the ratio of dues. For example, 8 lakh ka income tax dues and 2 lakh ka custom dues. So 10 mein se we could recover only 1 lakh. So they will share in the proportion. The money will be divided. So that's our chapter, recovery. Proceedings. I was expecting to complete transfer pricing also in today's episode, but no problem. In the next class, we will do transfer pricing and then we will start volume 3 where intermediate ka students have to watch all the lectures also. So I think in the next 2 episodes session, we'll definitely complete our revision series. So thank you for watching. Have a nice time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.